I will introduce to you our nutrient additive, the T16. Well, first of all, what is a nutrient additive and why do you need it? A nutrient additive is a combination of several nutrients that the microbes in the anaerobic digestion tank needs. So cobalt, nickel, zinc, amongst others. So it's known that the consortium, the microbes in the tank require these nutrient additives at different concentrations. And that's why we need to supply, because your feedstock won't contain everything that they need. So when I joined Future Biogas a few years ago, we developed it because we wanted to optimize our sites and we wanted to make sure that we were supplying all the nutrients required by the microorganisms. So it was developed in 2014 and our first full-scale trial started in 2016 in one of our sites, Egmere Energy, and the site has been using the nutrient additive since then. After that, we have moved on and we have started all our other sites on the T16 as well. We kept one site, Oak Grove Renewables, as a control site, so we changed additives, but they were both third-party additives. So you can see here on this graph the biogas production on site through the years before the T16 was added and after the T16 started being supplied. And you can see that through time the plant had an improvement in biogas production. We can't really say that this was because of the T16, because we have different teams. We have a feedstock team, we have an operations team, a biology team, and we are all always trying to optimize our areas of the business, but we can see here that the T16 supported these improvements in performance. So if you go into details, into the period when the T16 started to be supplied, you can see here once more that the T16, after the T16 started being supplied, the biogas production increased. Another way that we can evaluate how the site performs is by the biogas yields, not necessarily the production, because the production will depend on many different things. So will the biogas yields, but it is a little bit easier to understand by biogas yields because you are supplying a specific feedstock and you know what to expect from that. So you can see on this graph the actual biogas yields produced by the site and the expected biogas yields that I would expect for the feedstock that was supplied. And you can see that it runs quite closely. So we are achieving a good yield compared to what we would expect on the site. And this is true for all the other sites where the T16 has been supplied. So that's Grange Farm, that's Merlin Renewables. This is the control site. So on this site, OGR, we have been using third-party additives. So we initially were using one additive from one supplier, and then we changed to a second one to see how the plant would perform. So again, you can see the biogas yields on the site, how it compares the expected against the actual. And here is a summary graph of what we were able to see. So if you compare the biogas yields before we changed for the T16 or before we changed the additive in the control site, you can see that the yields were lower than after we changed to the T16. So this means that our sites, all of them, have an improved performance in terms of biogas yields. So through time, our sites improved their yields, so we are producing more biogas from the feedstock that we are supplying. So here, I marked on the graph as well the control site. You can see that the improvement in performance was more pronounced on the sites where the T16 was supplied, if you compare against the control site where third-party additives were supplied. This is just another way to represent the same data. So you can see here, this is the improvement in performance. You can see that the sites where the T16 was applied had a higher improvement or had a higher increase in biogas production. Again, once more, I highlighted the control site. So you have Oak Grove. Again, it had an improved performance, but not as pronounced as the other sites. Another way to see the data is comparing what you actually got in terms of yields and what you would expect for the feedstock, because I mentioned earlier that the biogas yields will depend on what you feed. So if you compare the expected biogas yields with the actual biogas yields, our actual biogas yields were higher than the expected. Obviously, the expected biogas yields are based on some assumptions on feedstock, on conditions like of your site, like retention time and temperature. But considering all that, once more, the T16 sites outperformed the control site. So the increased actual biogas yields compared to the expected was higher on the sites where you had the T16. This graph here represents similar data, but in a more summarized version. So you can see that the control site sits below the T16 site. So the T16 allowed for a greater increase in performance. So as a conclusion of that, we can say that an increase in biogas yield and biogas production was observed in all our sites. So the whole of Future Biogas worked together to deliver that. And obviously this was not only down to the biology team, this was a joint effort from all the company. And obviously the T16 allowed these robust improvements through time